Welcome to Kids presented by Bad News Media. It is the NFL Conference Championship recap live episode coming to you on YouTube. We are going to start doing some more live videos. There's a lot of new stuff coming this year. We've got a new podcast we're going to start launching here soon called The Degenerate Report. It's going to be great, taking one of my good friends from college on the gambling journey, teaching him everything I know in my brain. He's teaching me some stuff he knows from the soccer world, rugby world, living our degenerate lives. It's going to be a good podcast. We'll be bringing that here in the new year. Also, keep your eyes peeled on our social media for us releasing the Bad News store. We're going to have some great apparel and gear you can pick up. Some really fun things coming in the new year. But I wanted to hop on today to talk a little NFL Conference Championship weekend. We're going to start with a hot button topic. The topic that everybody is commenting on. The internet is ablaze. Last night, we had NFL rigged trending nationally, which is really just great look, NFL. Really good job. And we got to this place because the officiating across both games was piss poor. I mean, just absolutely a travesty. In that Eagles 49ers game, maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe my eyes are just falling out of my head. But I could have sworn Lane Johnson got a head start on just about every snap. You had guys lining up in the neutral zone not getting called. You had that really bad roughing the punter call where he gets blocked into him. Just bad calls in that game. But then the Bengals-Chiefs game. That is where things go off the line. And I want to start with this statement. National media, do your homework a little. Like, dig into it. Sure, there are a couple fans that are really honing in on that Patrick Mahomes roughing the passer call. But Cincinnati fans are not so much angry about that being called. I think the overwhelming majority agree that that's going to get called 100 times out of 100 times in that spot. What they're especially pissed about is the inconsistencies throughout the entire game and the fact that they should have gotten an offsetting penalty in that spot. Now, Trey Henderson, I don't think that was a hold on the outside. But if you look on the interior of that line, every angle I can see, it would appear that BJ Hill has an offensive lineman, interior guard's arm wrapped around his neck, holding him as he blows through him. And that should have been an offsetting penalty. People are also upset that once again, this head officiator, who was in the Super Bowl last year, who was part of the crew that called the Logan Wilson hold on the goal line, which was the ticky-tackiest of ticky-tackiest plays, who didn't call the false start on the Rams, once again was in a position late game where they made a game-altering call while there were also other penalties happening within the same play. And they're pissed about the inconsistency of not getting the block in the back call on the punt before that, which would have made this whole thing completely mute. Like, they would not have been in position to kick the field goal. They've been back on their 20. Who knows what would have happened, but I'm going to guess that they would not have been kicking a field goal. We would have been having overtime. They're pissed that Joe Burrow didn't get a roughing the passer call when Frank Clark came in. Sure, he didn't really lay into him, but he still clearly hit him way after the fact. I mean, the ball is long gone. He comes in, clear 3 shots. They're pissed that Joe Mixon got absolutely leveled while out of bounds earlier in the game by the goal line. Didn't call a roughing call or unnecessary roughness there. It's the inconsistencies throughout the game that they're upset with. The third down, which is the right call, but it's just the piss poor officiating, losing the game in a fashion that it left a bad taste in your mouth, because that was a really great game. I mean, talk about just the ebbs and flows of that. When Patrick Mahomes needed to make a play, he made a play. When Joe Burrow and the Bengals needed to come up with something, they came up with something. I mean, that Jamar Chase just, fuck it, he's down there, chuck it, throw. Like, there were just great plays. It was a great game. And you just went to bed feeling like you had a bad taste in your mouth, that there was a bias through the refs. And the rig thing's going on because NFL, I'm sorry, but or I should say NFL fans, I'm sorry, they don't care. The NFL doesn't care. All they care about is ratings and money. And they ended up getting the Super Bowl that they want. And they're going to be able to promote better than a Bengals-Eagles Super Bowl. Once again, I don't think that, you lose the game on one play. The Bengals had their opportunities. They had the ball late in the game to go drive and win it. They could have done that. They didn't. There are plenty of opportunities throughout the game. The O-line started to show that, patchwork that it was. Chris Jones took over. The Chiefs did go out and win it, but the officiating objectively was garbage. And we as fans should be pissed about this. And the rigging thing, it's really bad optics when you have a game there is an objectively biased lean in that way they call that game. And one of your big sponsors is now a gambling company, and gambling is becoming more legal. And we know that other leagues have suffered games that have been fixed. That's been a history of sports, and you have to do everything you can guard about it. And it's a really bad look when you are partnering with these giant gambling companies that have an invested interest in this, and then you have officials in the one of the biggest moments in the sport outside of one game, which is the Super Bowl. This is the biggest moment, all eyeballs on, and you're absolutely sucking it up from an official standpoint. You're absolutely hosing a team on some things. It's a bad look. And the officiating was bad across the board, and there's multiple reasons for that. I mean, in the year 2023, we should have a sky judge. The fact that we do not have a sky judge here who can buzz down, especially in these key situations when there's just obvious penalties happening, is ridiculous. The fact that we break up crews, NFL crews stay together through the entire year. They're rated individually and they're rated as a group. And yet, for some reason, after reffing 18 games together, the NFL has a brilliant idea of let's bust these teams up and get these like all-star crews. But really all that does is you're now officiating with guys that you haven't officiated with all season. You don't know their strengths and weaknesses from an officiating thing. It's the same thing as a team. Like when you have a team you've played all along, you know, hey, my right guard maybe is a little slow picking up the blitz. I got to go more left here. Or like my wide receiver isn't a great stretch guy. He's more of running interior and in the slot position. Like you figure out things, basketball team, like who can hit a 3-point, who can't, like you have an ebb and flow to it. But for some reason, we bust these guys up where we shouldn't. We should just take whoever the best officiated crew is at the end of the season, the 4 of them, whatever you need, and that should be who moves to playoff officiating. Simple. It was just bad. It just left a bad taste in your mouth, and that sucks. It really sucks. And I feel bad for Bengals fans because it sucks to be in that moment and have, once again, calls go against you. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs did go out and they won that game. Like they made plays when they needed to. Joe Burrow had his, Brady moment if he wanted it, and they couldn't get it. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that the offensive line was a patchwork. And the Bengals tried in the offseason to fix that. They went out and they did. They had bad injury luck. And that's the part where it's like, you can't take these things for granted. I know everybody likes to say, last year when they were Super Bowl, oh, we'll be back. Or after this loss, I saw a lot of posts of like, oh, the Bengals will be back. Maybe they will, but it's the NFL. Staying healthy is really difficult. Getting to these spots, especially in the AFC, is incredibly difficult. So you have to take advantage of the opportunities you had. You were in the red zone twice and you came away with 6 points total, 2 field goals. Like maybe you should have gone for one of those. Had your opportunities, but the officiating stunk. It was piss poor across the league, and that sucks. Not a great look. Chiefs, though, I mean, you got to love Andy Reid. I love Andy Reid. That man deserves all the best in the world. Been a big Andy Reid We've been a big Andy Reid supporting podcast here. We were talking about it before he won his first Super Bowl about how he's one of the most underappreciated coaches. I mean, the guy's now been to 10 conference championships with 2 separate franchises. Total, obviously. He's been to 3 Super Bowls. He's won a Super Bowl. He's a top tier coach, like one of the best coaches we've ever seen in the league. And what the Chiefs were able to accomplish this year with those offensive weapons and the situations they had and the injuries they had in that game and coming into that game, I mean, you got to do nothing but applaud them. I mean, it was truly, as an objective football fan, you have to sit back and go, holy shit, that is an extremely well-coached team that executes at a high level. It was really something to watch this season. Travis Kelce just out there, taking advantage of his moment. We're going to get the Kelce Brothers Super Bowl, which will be a lot of fun. Talk about a good year to start a podcast for them. And that will be awesome. I'm very excited for all of that. But yeah, that stunk. And then for the Bengals, I think you go into the offseason knowing you got to get the extension done for Joe Burrow. They'll get that done. You don't have to pay Jamar Chase yet. You don't have to pay T. Higgins yet. Those are coming. You've got some cap room here. I think they got $44 million or something next year in cap room. You're a franchise that drafts really well. It's just got to avoid that injury bug up, try to build a little depth on the offensive line, repatch the defense a little bit, and you should be competing. I mean, you can't feel too bad because you've got your quarterback. And the Chiefs-Bengals rivalry is the healthiest thing we got going right now in the NFL. Awesome rivalry. It does sort of have the makings of the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Colts, Patriots rivalry back in the day, where these two teams are going to run into each other a lot in the playoffs. It does have that feeling. This is going to be great for the sport. It's a really healthy rivalry. The mayor of Cincinnati needs to sit down and shut up. That would be really nice. Talk Cincinnati. I live in Cincinnati. I'm a Bucs fan, as you all know, but I was rooting for the Bengals. This whole week was such a, we're not used to having nice things from a sports perspective, because just no ability to handle the spotlight. You got Eli Apple out here talking massive amount of shit on Twitter. You've got them talking about Burrowhead. You've got the mayor doing that corniness. It was just that stuff you do after the game. But lessons were learned. You got Zach Taylor, though, who we've been really critical on this podcast about for all the right reasons. He's been the Achilles heel. He's been the thing that's been holding this team back, but no more. I mean, you got to give the man a round of applause. Talk about one of the most improved coaches this season. Zach Taylor grew up in front of our eyes and did the best they could. You saw the in-game adjustments. I mean, they had nothing going for them in that first quarter. Sure, there are things they could have done a little bit better throughout the game, but like, hell of a game, hell of in-game adjustments to keep yourselves in that. You would have liked to see it turn out a little bit differently and really kind of get going on that final drive. But I mean, it's a good season. It's a hell of a season to come back from the Super Bowl loss and have that. Hopefully they get healthy next year, avoid the injury bug, and we get Chiefs-Bengals again next playoffs, because it's an awesome rivalry. I'm very excited for that. Talk about the other game, Eagles-49ers. It led to the bummer that was this weekend. I mean, you had the bad officiating in the Bengals-Chiefs, and then you just had the 49ers go down two quarterbacks, and have a guy come out who couldn't even throw the ball anymore because of an injury to his elbow. I mean, that stunk. Before the game, though, God, you got to love the Philly Fanatics. I mean, talk about a fan base. One of the best fan base as far as loving and dying with their team, bleeding green, putting Joey Bosa's just brain into the ultimate Philly blender. I don't know if you guys saw that clip, but oh my God, the Philly scumbags were out in force and they had Joey Bosa's brain in a Philly blender. He's out here dropping the butt buddy line like he's in 6th grade. All right, cool, dude. He's talking about how he can pay the fine because he's rich and they're poor. I mean, it was just, they absolutely got him. And then there's a video coming out today of him in the stadium in his suite, chopping it up and going at it with some more Philly scumbags. It's just, that fan base is the best. They're fantastic. Truly a great one. Love the Philly Fanatics. Great game. Or not great game. Great season for Philly. Arguably the easiest path ever to the Super Bowl, but they were the best team in the NFC East. I still think the evaluation we had was good. You know, teasing the Bengals and the 49ers. Sure, it didn't hit, but Brock Purdy doesn't get injured. That is possibly a much different game. But once Brock Purdy gets injured, Josh Johnson is not going to do anything in that spot. He didn't. He then gets hurt. Brock Purdy has to come in. He can't throw. You're just loading the box at that point. 49ers can't get anything going. That just stunk. I mean, it really stunk for a team that was so good and battled through so much adversity. Losing your starting quarterback, losing your backup quarterback, having Mr. Irrelevant come in and play extremely good in the system. Yes, it was a short sample size. Yes, Kyle Shanahan drew up a great scheme for him that played to his strengths and was showing us why he's one of the best and brightest coaches in the league. But that stuck. You wanted to see a competitive game there. You wanted to see the two best teams in the NFC really battle it out, and we didn't get that. But the Eagles deserve all the credit in the world. I mean, they were the best team in the NFC this year, no question about it. They're so incredibly talented on both the offense and defensive side of the ball. It's going to make for an incredible Super Bowl. Reddick's an absolute problem to deal with. Jalen Hurts is going to have to step up his level. He's going to have to elevate it. Right now, my early lean is the Eagles. We're going to break it down in full. We talked about the concerns and whether or not, if the 49ers brought just natural pressure, bailed out, protected the boundaries, and made him throw inside, what was that going to look like? We saw that he had some trouble there, but he still played really great. had himself a good game. He's flowing, but he's going to have to step it up even more in the Super Bowl because Spagnuolo is going to give him fits as well. That defense is built to play against this type of offense. Both these teams are really designed to have strength on strength here. It's going to be an awesome Super Bowl. I would have loved to see Bengals Eagles. I think that would have been electric, but I think this is going to be an awesome one too, because I think both these teams match up so well against each other and sort of both have areas within their game that holds each other's kryptonite almost. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be fantastic. Those two fan bases going against each other in Arizona will be great. Yeah, just a great job by Philly there. Stunk, bit of a bummer of a weekend from the conference championship. Would have liked to see it break some different ways. Would have liked to see a healthy game there, but it's football. The NFL stays king. Got to get the officiating cleaned up. Don't want to see that. Hopefully we'll have a good Super Bowl here. And we're excited about it. So just want to come on, give a couple thoughts from this weekend, break it down for you. Like I said, we are going to be releasing a brand new podcast coming this month, or next month, I should say, called The Degenerate Report. We're still going to be bringing you Trophy Kids. This is going to still be our main big focus here, big gambling lean, but that's going to be a fun one as we kind of teach somebody who is brand new to the gambling space how to sports gamble and take along that journey. And then the Bad News Store, that'll be coming out hopefully here relatively soon. We're working on that. We love and appreciate all your guys' support. Hopefully get you some sweet merch out there. It's been a great season. Thank you for sticking with us here. Thank you for continuing to show us support and subscribing and listening. We look forward to bringing you bigger and better things this year. And as always, peace.